Superman is a superhero action movie directed and written by James Gunn. It stars David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, and Nicholas Hoult. Superman, a journalist in Metropolis, embarks on a journey to reconcile his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as Clark Kent. This movie is, in a way, meant to be audiences' reintroduction into the DC universe, which is being helmed by James Gunn, who's known for making the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and is also known for probably one of the rare examples of someone who has thrived off of a previous cancellation after the whole digging up old tweets from him fiasco. I was one of the many people who bashed the previous quote-unquote DCEU, a franchise that gave us classics like Batman v Superman and the original Suicide Squad movie starring Jared Leto. Sadly, when these movies were coming out, I was way too young to make videos bashing these movies, so the only thing I could do was hate watch them. I've been incredibly skeptical of this new universe, mainly because of the indirect trauma from the previous attempt Hollywood tried at bringing these stories and characters to the big screen. Along with this, I'm a massive fan of the 1978 Superman movie, as I think that is one of the most quintessential comic book movies, as that film has perfect casting, perfect pacing, really great writing for a superhero movie in general, and is overall just a great time no matter how many times someone would watch it. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, I think Zack Snyder's Man of Steel and the overall handling of the previous DCEU was just disastrous all around, as the movies in that universe held such a bastardization of the Superman character. Now, here we are, finally, in 2025, we have a new Superman movie, which, as I said, is meant to kick off this new DC universe. But how exactly is this movie on its own, and is it worth checking out despite the abundance of superhero movies we keep getting nowadays? Well, let's find out. I'm going to start with the performances, firstly talking about David Corenswet as Superman / Clark Kent / Kal-El, whatever you want to call him.
Kal-El!
Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF!
Corenswet is known mainly for being in movies like Pearl and the new Twisters movie, along with having roles in TV shows like Hollywood and The Politician. For this movie, I genuinely don't think I could come up with a better person that could have fit the role of Superman here. For his role of Superman, he embodies the spirit of this character perfectly. He portrays himself to have this unending kindness for everything and everyone around him. For example, when it comes to saving people, he doesn't just save humans, but animals as well. He wears a great sense of vulnerability out on his sleeve in a way I feel like we've never seen Superman to be portrayed before, on film at least. There's many moments where Kal-El goes through a lot of turmoil, and whenever things get under his skin, Corenswet shows this to the best of his ability, to the point where you feel really sympathetic for him. On the opposite side of his character, there are moments where we of course see him as Clark Kent, and he does a great job at portraying this side of the character too. Taking away the actual look of him aside, he gives himself this awkwardness that feels very natural. Whenever he interacts with characters in the Daily Planet, he tries as best as he can to come off as charismatic with them, but sometimes he tends to fumble, which of course is just Kal-El putting up a front. But with this layered personality, Corenswet makes it really believable. He has great chemistry with any character he shares the screen with, and through his entire performance, I believe he has cemented himself as Gen Z's, and well, I guess more so Gen Alpha's, definitive Superman. Rachel Brosnahan plays Lois Lane, and I thought she was really great here. Other credits for films she's been in includes very recently being in the movie The Amateur with Rami Malek, and having a role in the TV show The Marvelous Miss Maisel. Brosnahan does a good job at giving this version of Lois Lane a lot of charisma and confidence, especially when it comes to her job at the Daily Planet, and also when it comes to being the forefront at a lot of the action scenes in this, way more than I could have anticipated. I wonder if this is why a lot of people are complaining that this version of Superman is considered quote-unquote woke, because they have to watch a woman actually do things and be written two-dimensionally for once. Shocker. It's great to see here. There's many line deliveries that she gives that were pretty funny too. The chemistry her and Clark have are really palpable in context of the movie. They aren't together very long, but through the way the two of them act around each other, they make the love they have for each other very believable. Nicholas Hoult plays Lex Luthor in this, which is funny because if you kept up with the development of this film, you'll remember that Hoult originally auditioned to be Superman, but then lost the role to Corenswet. The idea of casting an actor who originally wanted to be the lead in your movie to be the villain in your movie is such a genius move, and it works really well here. Hoult is known for many roles in films like Nosferatu, Mad Max Fury Road, and Warm Bodies, just to name a few. He is incredible here as Luthor. The way he betrays himself to be this rage-filled, hateful man is a delight to watch. Every time he's on screen, you can feel the sense that he has hate surging through his blood. And what's great about his character is he isn't just evil because he has to be. The movie gives context as to why he's a bad person. Along with this, we see him commit really despicable things throughout the runtime of this thing. Strangely enough, it was comedic due to the fact of seeing the extent he would go to in order to ruin Superman's life. He is passionate about hating the guy. It makes it clear in many scenes. Toward the end of this thing, he has a great monologue, which is so incredibly self-indulgent and pathetic you can't help but laugh at him, but at the same time, throughout most of the movie, you can easily get intimidated by the guy. Hoult is a delight to watch on screen, and honestly steals the film whenever he's on screen. Edi Gathegi plays Mr. Terrific, a superhero I honestly hadn't heard of before watching this movie. He's known for having roles in movies like Twilight and X-Men First Class. I was hooked watching this guy on screen. Whenever he appears, he just oozes cool without any struggle. Whenever he brings comedic moments to the movie, he pulls them off really well, providing some great laughs by the way he delivers his lines. Gathegi is another example of an actor who manages to steal any of the scenes he's in whenever he appeared. Nathan Fillion plays Guy Gardner, who is this universe's version of Green Lantern, or at least one of the Green Lanterns, as we'll be seeing another version of two Green Lanterns in the planned upcoming Lanterns TV show. Fillion is known for having roles in movies like Slither and the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, along with having a starring role in the TV show The Rookie. He does a great job in this role, somehow managing to perfectly balance being really hateable and likable all at once. He's hateable just by being a really believable asshole to everyone around him, while also being self-centered to a believable extent. But along with this, is still likable because at the end of the day, he is still a hero that wants to do his job as one. Whenever he's given comedic moments here, he does them well and provides some good laughs from the way he delivers his lines too. It's always fun seeing him show up in James Gunn's movies. Now with all the performances out of the way, I can talk about the plot. However, I should mention there are a couple other performances I neglected to mention, mainly because I felt like if I keep going, this video would be extremely long, because that is an aspect of this movie that might throw a lot of people off. There are many characters in this thing. There's so many characters that are just present and are introduced sometimes as if this isn't meant to be the first main film in a franchise building up. It feels like the fourth or fifth entry, and while I see a lot of people complaining about this, I actually didn't mind it, as I think this is something James Gunn pulls off pretty well with his superhero movies. In just a little over 2 hours, this world feels very lived in, with superheroes basically living among civilians, and they all act like it's normal, which in a way can be done for comedic purposes, but it also just introduces us to a world where this is so normalized, and I like that. Although with all these characters, one or two characters felt like they didn't have enough time to get developed. I'm sure they will in other entries, but they didn't get the time here. The biggest example I can think of is Hawkgirl, played by Isabela Merced. We understand a little bit about her character, but it would have been cool to see a bit more development here. I appreciated how James Gunn knew not to make this another origin story. Superman is one of the most famous superheroes ever. I feel like everyone, whether they're in tune with comics or not, knows his story. In this movie, Superman is publicly a superhero for a short time, so people know of him, which is also enough time for an adversary, in this case Luthor, to think of ways to stop him from being a hero. In a way, it felt like the plot to a cartoon in the best way possible. Throughout the runtime, we see certain things that Superman has to deal with, which I can't get into to avoid spoilers, but I will say it was a creative way of having this hero go through some turmoil. As the movie goes on, I will admit what held it back for me from being completely fantastic was some familiar tropes rearing its ugly head into the screenplay, like having the hero and villain, who is nearly the same in power level to the hero, battle it out at the end of the movie, which for the most part is riddled with CGI. At least here at times, the effects do look good. There are some really great moments in this movie too. Some standouts include an extended sequence where Superman and Lois head back to Kansas to see the Clark's parents, and it's such a really lovely scene that further humanizes Superman as a character. It was just really nice to watch. There are multiple scenes of Superman saving people. Shocker, I know. But one segment that was great in particular was when Superman lifted a building from falling on a bunch of people, and once he gets it out of the way, he flies away from the smoke, and it was done so beautifully. I'll admit, I got a bit of water in my eyes. It's scenes like this which really make this movie special, for me anyway. The cinematography in this movie was done by Henry Braham, who's done cinematography for the last 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and The Flash. The latter might ring a lot of alarms for people, but trust me, this movie does actually look good, and I think that's mainly down to Gunn's directing. During an action scene, there's a really great one take, which I suppose from looking at it is a mix of CG effects and practical effects, as it's this 360 tracking shot while being a one take at the same time. It was really entertaining to watch. Along with this, there was a lot of just creative ideas done here. While it is of course a CG effect, there was one moment where Superman punches a goon and his teeth hit the camera, which was a nice touch. Color in this movie is also really beautiful to look at, especially in this other dimension, which a small chunk of the movie takes place in. It's very vibrant and beautiful throughout the movie, which is also present on a lot of the costumes of the superheroes, which after a decade of washed out grey colors on superhero costumes, it was great to see, wonderful to see even. The CG effects were a bit of a mixed bag for me personally. I will say the only occasions where I thought it looked kind of bad was the aforementioned extended sequence where the characters were in this other dimension. While I thought the colors here were nice to look at, I just thought seeing these characters surrounded by this environment after a while was tedious to look at, as I was reminded none of what was happening looked real. Surprisingly though, a lot of this movie actually looks pretty good. The flying scenes for Superman look great. You will watch this movie and believe a man can fly all over again. I was happy to see behind the scenes footage of Superman and Lois flying, and seeing that they actually had the actors on harnesses that lifted them up into the air. It was a nice touch. From the Green Lantern powers to the way the character of Metamorpho looks and interacts with things, it looks like there was a lot of care and dedication put into making the effects work here, which made for an entertaining experience. The music here is really great. This is the first James Gunn movie, probably in forever, where there is little reliance on licensed music. Usually he provides a soundtrack packed with really great tunes that suit the movie. There are about 3 licensed songs in this whole movie, all of which were nice to hear and suited the scenes that they were in. What we mainly have in this movie is a score which was composed by John Murphy and David Fleming. John Murphy was responsible for creating the score of 28 Days Later. There's points where the guy interpolates the 1978 Superman John Williams' score, which is redone in a tasteful way and in part even an emotional way. Along with this, there are some other tracks that always suit the scenes that they're used in. All of the songs here are really memorable. It's a superhero movie soundtrack which I can see myself returning to time and time again. The costumes here were designed and created by Judiana Makovsky, who's created costumes for many superhero movies like Avengers Infinity War and Civil War and the Suicide Squad. Costumes here are very colorful and vibrant. Along with this, from what I'm hearing from fans, the costumes for the most part are also meant to be comic accurate, which is usually a good sign for these movies. Superman's costume is great. It features the iconic red boot and yellows that are synonymous with Superman, and along with that, the guy even has his trunks on the outside of his costume, which we haven't seen in a very long time. It was again just wonderful to see here. Overall, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually had a really great time watching this movie. As I walked out of this thing, I realized that I was probably never feeling superhero movie fatigued. I was simply feeling fatigued of mediocre and borderline bad media by incompetent filmmakers who didn't know what they were doing with the material they were gifted with. But with the case of this movie here, it was given to someone who since the inception of his career clearly knows how to adapt superheroes, no matter what type of media that may be. It's funny because I think James Gunn may be the first ever example of a filmmaker to be affected positively by cancel culture, as I said. I won't speak on the guy's behalf though. I'm sure on a personal level being cancelled by the internet did take a pretty mental toll, but if you look at things, James Gunn was initially fired from Marvel, which gave him time to be hired and to make a Suicide Squad, which was so good that not only did Marvel hire him back, but DC was convinced that because people liked the Suicide Squad so much, that Gunn should be their own version of Kevin Feige. And now this is where we are today. And what we have is a real good time at the movies. I'm giving Superman 2025 4 stars. This movie is really well acted, which includes standouts from its main and supporting cast from all fronts. It's shot really well, it's beautiful to look at from time to time, but also at its center, it's really beautifully written with a wonderful message that I believe in the times we are living is exactly what the world needs right now. I've never been so excited to be seeing the start of a franchise grow from its inception, and I can't wait to see where they take things from here. From looking at things, the next movie slated in this franchise is meant to be Supergirl, so I'll definitely be checking that one out. This movie is currently on the big screen, and while I didn't get to experience this thing in this format, I would actually encourage people to check this out in IMAX, as the movie has a widescreen presentation, which means the the entire screen is covered head to toe with no aspect ratio. So if you want to experience this thing with the best sound and the best picture, that's the best way to do it. I will say, after watching this, Marvel has a lot to live up to with their next movie, which will be Fantastic Four, which admittedly I'm just as excited and skeptical for. I felt the same about this movie, so if that's how you feel, trust me, this thing is so worth watching, and especially worth watching on the big screen.